Taking time out of what we know is a very busy schedule. It's our friend Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, good morning to you and Happy New Year.
It's I thought it was cold in D.C. It's like 34. I'll take it over to 12. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, because that wind. You don't need a block of coffee this morning to get yourself. Just leave your coat open.
That's it. But I'll tell you where it ain't cold, and that's Iran. How was that for a lead-in?
I thought that was a great segue over because I'm sure you presumed, and correctly so, that's the topic of the day. Couple of things to know. Let's. I don't want to, necessarily go in necessarily chronological order. Let's go to the response that we're hearing about from Iran, which I guess in putting the pieces together, it would kind of seem that they were trying to save face, but not really escalate much of anything.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to find out more today. Obviously, it's great news. No Americans were hurt or killed. We've gotten conflicting reports on whether any Iraqis were hurt or killed. The question I have is what damage was done? Were their planes destroyed? Stuff like that. I do think it's fairly obvious that they were intending to strike back, as you said on the lead-in, to send a message, but not provoke a further response. And I think that says two things. Number one, that says that what we did was correct, and my assumption and the assumption of many others that actually what we needed to do was reestablish deterrence with Iran is actually maybe at the beginning of being reestablished. They know that the president will follow through, and I knew they'd have to do some kind of I'll call it an escalation, because what we did was a response, obviously, for the first time in 30 years of them hitting us in the face.
Right.
And so I think over the next few months we're going to get a real idea of what effect it had. The good thing is Soleimani was a really smart guy, and he really led the Iranian expansionist strategy. And he's dead now, and so they can replace him with anybody, but they don't have the brain for what was being done like he did.
I keep hearing that it was a whole lot more than taking out a figurehead, that this was someone who was actively involved in many things. The cause of death were hundreds of American troops, thousands of people throughout the Mideast. This guy has got more blood on his hands than a lot of people we've seen.
That's right. I was, how do I put this? I had a meeting at the White House yesterday in a classified setting.
Understood.
Best way I can put it. And I'll tell you, there was going to be further escalating attacks. Soleimani was not there to broker peace, as some people have said. That on its face is insane, but some people are believing that. This was the right response. And quite honestly, I actually think with the intel that was being presented, maybe even President Obama would have done it. And in an alternate world, machine, I would love to see how the Democrats would react to that. Nancy Pelosi's tweet yesterday, I tweeted back to her, was absolutely inappropriate.
Yep.
To blame the president as missiles are raining down. And the Democrats' attempt to make Iran look like a victim is going to come back to bite them. I don't care about politics when it comes to foreign policy, but at this case, I'll make an exception and say it is going to have a huge backlash against the Democrats, and just mark my words.
I'm with you on the political end of the foreign policy thing. When the Obama administration was going drone crazy, and 4,000 drone strikes or however many took place and all that, a lot of very bad people were wiped off the map, and I didn't have any trouble with it.
Right.
But now it turns around when the same thing is done in a bold fashion by the president. While this is the worst thing ever done, I can't believe. I really think some huge mistakes are being made on the left side.
Yeah, and when they have to resort to the argument of whether it was technically legal under the War Powers Resolution. Well, let me put it this way. I 100% supported Obama killing Osama bin Laden, as we all did. I think you could actually make an argument that was less congruent with the War Powers Resolution than this attack, for this reason. It took place in the sovereign nation of Pakistan. He was a legitimate target in a sovereign nation. Now, I'm glad he did it, so of course I'm not making that argument. But then if you look at what Soleimani was, he was a military target in Iraq, where we have a AUMF and we have a status of forces agreement, which is a legal document with the Iraqi government, and in that, inherent both in the UN, both in that and international law and Article 2 of the Constitution, is the right to defend your troops, and that's exactly what the president did.
And like I said, when I heard about it happening, I thought it's time that we punched back.
Right.
Because as you just said a few minutes ago, 30 years, and it's closer to 40, we've been taking it on the chin.
That's right.
There have been some limited responses to things, but not anything really with an exclamation point on it, quite like this.
Right. And, think about this, too. If I heard Richardson, Ambassador, Ambassador, I guess, Richardson was on former New Mexico government, was saying, well, we could have taken out, surface-to-air sites and stuff. That would have been better. Well, it may get to that point someday, but that would have killed dozens of people that, really just need to get a paycheck from the Iranian government. Instead, we didn't kill the dozens of people. We killed the guy responsible. I don't know how the left could be they should be happy about this as a measured response, but instead, because it's President Trump, they're deranged about him being president. He could have, fired a whole bunch of puppies, fired him into there, but given a whole bunch of puppies.
Yeah, firing him in would have been a bad PR move.
Yeah, we all would have been pretty mad at that. But he could have given a bunch of puppies to Iran, and they would find something wrong with that.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing to remember is Mr. Soleimani was not supposed to leave Iran by a UN Security Council,
right.
I don't want to say agreement, but demand, an order. It was basically he was supposed to confine himself to Iran, finds himself in another nation coordinating attacks.
That's right. And since the nuclear deal, he's been flagrantly traveling basically in Iranian state planes. He has said that there's nothing the Americans can do to me. And he was right until recently because it was considered too big of a target. But, my prediction I think is going to come true. We still have to be in prayer on this, but is, there will be this limited response which Iran had. They can save face domestically, and ultimately their behavior is going to moderate a bit. I think it has to.
I would think that it has to as well. And one other fine note, because I know that you're aware of all of these, the president's comment about having cultural sites targeted. Right. Now, that caused a huge uproar that, oh my God, I can't believe you would say you're going to hit cultural sites. No, that has a double meaning to it. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, you may have a different take on it, but, my view on it is this, Iran was basically threatening the exact same thing. Keep in mind that Soleimani and the Ayatollah have been destroying Iranian cultural sites for a very long time. And the other point that the president, I think, was trying to make within that was you can't do what, the typical thing of hiding military weapons or launching from a cultural site because it's going to be protected. I think the president was basically saying, look, we will disproportionately respond to you. And when people get irate about that, all they have to do is see the Iranians saying the exact same thing about disproportionate response. And yet somehow they see Iran as the victim of circumstances and we're the aggressor. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that and the cultural sites which he mentioned are a lot of places that are suspected to be nuclear sites that the Iranians called cultural sites to avoid an inspection.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so he was saying in a cryptic way to them, so look, I'm critical when the president makes, very divisive tweets to an American audience about Americans. I don't like that, right? And I'm going to continue to speak out on that. His audience in this was not the American people. If it made the American people uncomfortable, think of what it did to the Iranian government when he mentions cultural sites, and that theoretically to them could mean nuclear sites, or they now know. I think the response probably was tempered as a result of the president's tweets, because he made it clear that, he's putting the red line down.
Yeah, and it appears that this is a red line that will actually be enforced.
That's right. And look, there were a lot of us out here critical when he didn't respond to the drone attack, $200 million hit to the United States. We were critical when he didn't respond to Saudi Arabia. But he did say, you touch an American, it's going to cost you. He meant it. And so now, I think if the world doesn't recognize that the president has shown restraint, then that's willful ignorance. Same with the Democrats. He has shown restraint, but he has also made it very clear, peace through strength, and we have shown strength.
Yep, and it keeps getting more interesting by the hour as these things continue. Congressman, I know how busy you are. I really appreciate you carving time out of your day for us, as you always do. I'll look forward to our next get-together.
You bet. It's my honor. Have a good one.
Thank you.